Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by PointsBet. Use the promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. It's a Tuesday. The whole crew's in here. Cody Delmendo, Ryan Herrera, I'm Luke Stuckmeyer, and a special guest, our first in-studio guest ever, Joe Kilgallon, a local Chicago comedian who also happens to be a huge Cubs fan. So now that trivia question goes out there. Who was the first ever in-studio guest?
Oh, I love it.
Huh?
I love to be an answer for anything. Well, thanks for having me, fellas. It's going to be great.
This is going to be a lot of fun. I just want to start with getting to know you a little bit. Cody knows you pretty well, but when did you start rooting for the Cubs? Do you remember your first game or anything like that?
It's funny you mentioned that. I do remember my first game because I was on my 5th birthday. I was 5 years old, and my dad took me. It was just myself and my dad, and he always said, I waited till you were 5 because I figured that was an age in which you would remember your first game. Now, to the people out there who take their 1- and 2-year-olds, you're doing it for Instagram. We know that. But think about it. Shouldn't you remember the first time you were at Wrigley Field because it's such a majestic, beautiful place?
Agree.
And so I'm very grateful for that. And I have a son who turned 5 in February. Cubs don't play in February, but I'm going to take him Father's Day weekend to his first game. So it comes full circle, right?
There you go.
Nice. Did you have a favorite player as a kid growing up? Or
Yes. Andre Dawson. I was obsessed with Andre Dawson, the Hawk. I thought he had the coolest batting stance. I remember watching a game when I was like 6, and it was in New York at Shea, and it was a fly ball to right field, and there was a runner in third. I wish I could remember the runner, but my dad's like, they're not going to run on Dawson. They're not going to run on Dawson. And then they tried, and he gunned him, and it was a thing of beauty. Just an absolute frozen bullet from right field, and that guy was he was the guy.
Do you think you could ever bet on yourself the way he did, the whole blank contract thing?
No.
I never had a stand-up gig where you're like, you know what, write me a check afterwards.
Pay me whatever you want.
No, I need the money up front. I was a Chicago public school kid growing up. You take that money up front. No, I wasn't going to roll the dice like he did, but it worked. 49 homers, 137 driven in. Legend grew from that point on in Chicago, you know?
Then they pulled him out of the Ivy in a commercial 30 years later.
Well, he's got to get that money back because $500,000 for an MVP season even back then was insulting.
That's true.
So State Farm had to pay him extra.
I saw that Obvious Shirts came out with a new hat for him. It's kind of cool. I thought about getting it. It's like a giant hawk with an 8 coming down. They're getting their stuff ready for the start of this season like everybody else. By the way, I heard our dope merch is on the way.
Ooh, dope merch. We'll have to get you something.
24 boxes arriving very soon.
We'll have to get you some dope merch.
Yeah, you guys gonna have coffee mugs? I feel like a lot of shows they always had the coffee mug with the merch. And is there whiskey in there? You don't know. It's your little secret.
We have mugs yet.
Kind of like, and we could pose it like Pedro Strop did on Instagram the other day when he was like wearing a tank top. I don't know if you guys saw that. He was wearing a tank top. His like whole chest is out, and he's just hanging out down. He's Dominican, I think. He's just hanging out in his homeland, and he had a Cubs coffee mug, and he just like tagged the Cubs in the account and just said, I don't remember what he said, but it was just like the most Pedro Strop picture that you've ever seen.
Some people are just always cool.
Yeah, he's
guys.
just the coolest dude.
Do you, Joe, you ever work Cubs Cubs fandom into your stand-up work?
Yes. Actually, when I first started, it was the season the Cubs got Milton Bradley.
Okay, so
and
lots of jokes.
Yeah, they just signed Bradley, and a lot of people weren't happy about that signing. They were like, "Oh, he's a jerk. He's a bad guy." And my whole thing was like, we haven't won a World Series in 100 years. I mean, I'm not asking him to babysit my kids. I want, he had a 938 OPS last year. Let's go. Like, I don't care if you're a good person. Obviously, you can make a joke like that in 2008.
Yeah.
Nowadays, people would have grilled me a little bit more, and there was no Twitter back then. But every now and then, I'll incorporate some stuff. I've been fortunate enough to do stand-up for the Cubs at different events. I hosted Anthony Rizzo's he did a laugh-off for cancer. I was on the one in 2018. He didn't do it in 2019, and I hosted the one in 2020. And that was always been a lot of fun because Anthony loves stand-up, and he was always like, roast me, go after me, do all this. I wanted to, make fun of everything you can, and he was just a great dude. And then for Ryan Dempster, I did audience warm-up for when he did 2 live shows of his off the mound. And the Cubs athletes are good audience members. I've done shows and they like to laugh, I think, because they work so hard. They're like, who cares? Say whatever you want. Let's have some fun. Make fun of us.
Yeah, they're going to get criticized regardless. So it's like, as long as you're doing it in a funny way, it probably doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to Will Smith any of us, So.
We'll get to that in a second. Is there anything that's off limits? Like you mentioned Rizzo. I mean, there's certain things you're not going to say to a player, right?
Well,
What was off limits for you when he said, okay, go ahead and roast me? What are you like, all right, I'm not going there?
Anthony, there's nothing off limits for Anthony. But at the time, it was so funny because the first year I did it, in the middle, they showed like how impactful the charity was, the Anthony Rizzo Foundation.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, people are like crying in the audience because he's doing that charity did so many amazing things. And then it's like, all right, more stand up or more comedy. And I go up there. I remember people being like, he wants you to roast him. I'm like, he's Mother Teresa. How can I make fun of this guy after he helped all these children? So I kind of made fun of him for thinking he's like this, like, oh, talk this about me. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're a real easy target. All-star first baseman, World Series champion. I mean, I think I joked saying, I hope you have a little, you know what, just so that you're not perfect. You know what I mean? Just I had to do something. But as far as anything off limits, I think it's been a couple years. I could tell this story. I think I've told you this before. You might have. At the 2020 event, you know, things were a little sensitive. This was before the pandemic, but it was a rough off season as far as the Ricketts were concerned and some other stuff. And I was told, like, oh, don't really go hard at other players or anything and stay away from this and stay away from that. And it was David Ross's first, you know, upcoming season to be the manager. Right. And I said, oh, Ross was brought in because they wanted, you know, usher in a new era of accountability. And I said, well, I think the number one thing is no more players walking up to their lovers' walk-up songs. You know, I made like a Ben Zobrist joke.
Yeah.
In which it got a big laugh, and then a few people were like, ooh, is that okay? Is he okay to say that? And then afterwards I talked to some people, I won't name any names, and they were all like, I can't believe he still came out to that song. Like, it was one of those things where, for those of you who don't know, you could Google it. There was a whole thing. Love you, Ben, but it's a bad song. Use Elton John's original. Come on, man.
I still say that whole thing was the beginning of the down end. Because if Zobrist plays that year, who knows how that team turns out? He came back in September, but like they really needed him all season.
Well, because his bat was always that high contact bat that balanced out the strikeouts.
Right.
And he had a good 2018.
Right? That's why you've got Madrigal now on the team and some of these other guys.
Horner.
Because, Nico Horner, yeah.
High contact guys. I think they're kind of, maybe the Cubs are overcorrecting a little bit, trying to get back that Dexter Fowler magic and that Ben Zobrist magic. They got a lot of high contact bats, and you're like, where's the power going to come from?
Right.
We'll see.
There's a lot of question in that, no doubt.
Which Cubs player would be tough to roast? I dare you to roast Zambrano, former Cub. I think that could go wrong real quickly. You'd need like Derek Lee on your other side.
I think if you were to roast Zambrano, you just got to start with the Gatorade cooler or the day that he threw the baseball into the bleachers. Those two moments, like I feel like he would like. Now that it's been so long, I feel like you could do it now. But maybe
it's a risky proposition. Yeah. He's a very nice, funny guy, but I think his switch to going angry back in the day was real quick.
Ask Michael Barrett. Oh God.
You know, he started training MMA after that.
Barrett?
Barrett did, yeah. A couple people told me, they're like, he's going to this MMA gym now. And I'm like, oh, I wonder why.
Michael. I mean, that's the greatest moment in Cubs Sox crosstown history. It's not Jordan playing in a game that didn't matter. It's the punch that had literally a whole stadium and anybody watching it like flying off their seats, like no.
Yeah,
it was unbelievable.
Never forget that.
I was watching it at home, and I remember my heartbeat just jumping. I'm like, I'm not even there. I'm not in this fight. Why am I? It was just so out of nowhere. You just don't see stuff like that.
And that was 06, wasn't it?
Yes.
That was the year that didn't matter. That had like 96 losses, and it was just like
the Sox. Didn't the Sox win that year? Was that in 05 or was that 06?
Was the year after?
Year after. They won 90 games in 06, though. They were a good team still.
It was,
didn't get him.
It was quite a moment in Cubs history. I'll say that much.
Yeah, Zambrano would be tough. A guy like him, what you want to do, I've done this in the past, where you make a joke that's almost like a compliment joke, you know?
Yeah.
Which I did with Schwarber, because that night a lot of people were giving Schwarber a hard time about losing weight. This was the 2018 season. Remember, he showed up and was like, whoa, he lost like 30 pounds. And then they were making fun of his defense. That was a big thing. Like all the comedians who went up that night, like Second City people, through their stand-ups, were talking about how he can't catch anything and he's a terrible outfielder. And he took it in stride. But I went up there, and the joke I did was saying, like, dude, you hit 412 in the World Series. you should literally tell the bleacher bums, suck my D. I'll do whatever I want. I go, if you want, you could be like Oprah and gain and lose 50 pounds every year. And then tell everyone, again, I hit 412 in the World Series. Suck my, like, that's what I would do. And he loved it, of course, but then after getting him on your side, you can make some of the jokes that are more hard hitting. That's the approach I would take with Zambrano.
Oh, right.
Just compliment him and then go after him.
It's a good idea. Lather him up. You know what I mean?
You get him warmed up, and then you can kind of do what you want for a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm giving like how to pick up a woman advice, right? Here's what you want to do. Compliment her shoes. Then, no, I'm just kidding.
I like...
you compliment Cody's shoes. He'll love you forever.
Yeah, I know. Got him, right?
Yeah, these are my prized possessions.
Yeah, but it's looking cloudy outside. You put him out on Twitter today. I was like, that's a roll of the dice. Wow, his prized possession. And
yeah, good luck.
looking like it could be a little damp outside when we leave.
Yeah, you got to wear bad shoes when the weather is bad.
I mean, the sun was out this morning. I was feeling good about it. We'll see. It's going to be interesting on the way home tonight.
So we were talking, Zambrano, Joe, I do want your take. It's the first thing I thought of when Cody's like, yeah, Joe's going to come on. I was like, oh, cool. And then the Will Smith, Chris Rock thing happens, and I know you talked about it on your podcast.
Yes.
So I don't know. Are you afraid now because somebody's seen on national television that somebody can go up and just jack a guy in the face over a joke? Are you a little concerned that this is going to be a problem for the stand-up comedian moving forward? Because I said, what if it was Wanda Sykes standing up there made that joke? Then what does Will Smith do?
That's a good point. That's what everyone keeps bringing up. If it was anyone else,
or what if Chris Rock's tiny?
Yeah.
What if Chris Rock went down like a wet rag and was just limp laying on the ground? That changes the whole outlook. Like, what if he knocked him out?
Yeah, of course. Like there's so many different variables there. You should never hit anybody over a joke and all that kind of stuff. And then there's the side of it where I've had a bad temper I've been working on most of my life. You guys can tell by my hair color and skin tone, I've got a bad temper. And I totally understand you want to have your wife's back and all that. But if we're going to break down the film, he laughed initially.
Yeah.
He saw her response was, oh, my wife didn't like that joke. So now I got to do something to prove to her or whatever. That's where it gets me because everyone's like, oh, it's for the love. He loves her so much. If you love your wife so much, as soon as Chris Rock's making the joke, you would know this joke's not going to fly.
Right.
Like I think we all, if I don't know what your guys' relationship statuses are, but you would know like, ooh, this is a joke she's going to hate.
Right.
He didn't though. He saw her reaction and then he decided to do something. So that part of me there's a little bit of phoniness there to it. And yeah, it's not okay because, like, again, if it was Chappelle who's pretty jacked up or Joe Rogan who could kick him in the head or, there's other comedians who are big dudes. And you're right, Wanda Sykes, the same way. What would he have gone up and slapped her?
Right.
Or would he have just yelled from the crowd? Either way, here's how we should have handled it. He should have said to her, listen, hey, I know this isn't okay. I'm going to talk to him afterwards. Don't let it get to you. Let's try to enjoy our night as best as we can. I will talk to him afterwards. Then you go up to Chris Rock afterwards and say, hey, listen, that doesn't fly with me.
Yeah.
This is the second time you made a joke about her because I guess he did in like 2016 at the Oscars. I think you need to apologize. I don't even need you to apologize on TV. You need to go walk up to her and say you're sorry.
Right.
That's how you do it. But then again, we all have bad moments. As far as answering your first question, my worried comedians are going to get attacked now. I'm worried for some of them because some of them are very weak, pathetic people. A lot of these comedians. I mean, these are good friends of mine, but they can't fight. And some of these clubs don't have security. I'm not worried about myself too well because you guys could tell I'm an Adonis. So like, if someone wants to come on stage and mess with these shoulders, that's up to them.
Right, redheaded Adonis.
There you go.
When you're on stage, you have the level.
Yeah.
Like we're up.
Yeah.
So I did have it once where a guy tried to fight me, and I told him, I'm going to kick you in the mouth. I'm going. If you try to climb on stage, I'm just going to kick you over.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like,
what was the joke? Was it just like an ad lib, like, oh wow?
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, what's like the most mad, like, someone's been at you over a joke you did or during a show or whatever? What's the most mad that someone's gotten at you?
This guy was pretty much there. This was about a month ago at the Laugh Factory, like Broadway and Belmont, and actually like 7 or 8 of the Blackhawks were in the crowd.
Okay.
And I went to the game last night, courtesy of them, because they're like, hey, we saw something crazy. You come see us. Those guys actually have a good sense of humor because they're like, you want to see something funny? Come watch us play. I'm like, you guys are young. You'll be fine. But they all had a good sense of humor. They know they're not having a good season. So I'm going last on this show. It's a Monday night, too, mind you, which is normally a pretty calm or chilled audience. And this guy had been interrupting a lot of the comedians. And he was drunk, and then you found out he was a little something up his nose, too, perhaps, because of the way he was acting. And the woman next to him was a good 20 years older than him, but she kept putting her head on his shoulder. And then he's like, oh, it's my mom. And we're like, is she? What's going on here? And then when I was on stage, she was yelling something out, but I couldn't hear him. And then I said something like, all right, you want calm down there. All right. A lot of Walmart energy coming from you two. And and look, hey, some people have to shop at Walmart. That's not a bad thing. You do what you got to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right? They
I don't
got
shop
good
at
deals.
Walmart. I'm not offended.
They might want to be a sponsor of ours someday.
Some of the Hawaiian shirts that they see me wear, got them from Walmart.
Hey, I've gotten some stuff from Walmart in a pinch. I get it, but like it's a comedy show,
right?
And it's you're trying to describe a certain type of person or a certain type of energy.
You've done it.
Hey, I did. It got a big laugh. The audience liked it. He did not, and he came up to the stage and started yelling stuff that it didn't make sense. That's what's frustrating as a comedian. I don't mind a heckler. Obviously, I don't want it. If you're listening and you go to a comedy show, sit down and don't say anything. That's what I was trying to tell him. I'm like, you're yelling, no one else is. Is that not a clue to you that you should shut up? It's weird to me. People could go to the worst play ever, sit there in silence. They go to a stand-up comedy show and they just think, oh, I'm going to help the show and yell nonsense. But what's frustrating is if someone is heckling and you can't make out what they're saying, it's hard for me to do anything with it to make it funny. Where if I could hear them and they're enunciating, then I could turn their words around and make the audience hate them even more. So he came up to the stage and I basically just told him, like, this isn't going to end well for you. This just don't do this. There's a lot of other comedians where you could do this with. This is not going to, I'm telling you, you try to climb on the stage, I'm going to kick you in the face. I told him several times. And then the audience was kind of like hoping for it. Because, I'm seeing people take their phones out. And I'm like, oh my God, are we going to see something filmed? And luckily the staff came and got rid of him. And as he was leaving, he said, oh, you probably got bullied in high school. And I was like, dude, you're at a comedy show with your mom. Who's really, or is it your mom? Who you're trying to tell me I got bullied? And the funny part is, as they were escorting him out, an audience member got up and shoved him to the ground. I remember being like, wow, this audience has my back. I didn't have to do anything. But that was the maddest I've ever seen someone. He got right up to the stage and started yelling stuff, and then the whole crowd got very scared. But as far as you think, I don't know if it's going to be a regular thing. I don't know. I think maybe initially some people might try it.
There's always going to be some copycat jackass now that's going to be like, I'm going to go, you know what? I'm going to have 3 more drinks and I'm going to go up and slap that guy after the next joke. Like, that will happen at some comedy shop.
I agree.
You'll just have badass Joe kick him in the mouth.
That's right.
It doesn't matter.
You guys could check out my comedy calendar at joekilgallon.com if you want to try that. But no, think about it. Remember when the one guy came out, the 2 father-son started beating up the first base coach for the Royals at Sox game. Right. About a month later, a guy came out and tried to fight the umpire, or less than a month. And there was 2 incidences at the cell within the same month. Yeah, because it was a copycat thing. Yeah. Like, people will do that. I think the story will die down eventually, and everybody will then just be like, Will Smith lost his temper, happens to the best of us. Chris Rock maybe made a joke about someone's illness that he didn't know about or he shouldn't have. And then it'll be, there'll be a new story of the week.
It'll just be a meme.
Yeah.
It'll live on as a meme, but just like the context will be lost.
It's replaced the crying Jordan meme. Yes, it's replaced it now for at least a couple months.
It's hard to beat the Jordan crying meme in general.
For the sports world, it's really tough to beat it. I think back to 2016, and anybody that's a Cubs fan, that where you were, what you did when they won the World Series. I had a dirty hot dog on the streets of Cleveland from a vendor at like 4 a.m. And that's one of the things I just remember, like at 4 a.m., David Kaplan and I were standing with Kelly Crawl, and we were like, hey, let's get a hot dog from that guy. And it's just one of those random moments that sticks in your head. How did you celebrate, or how do you remember the Cubs winning the World Series? Because mine was like 4 hours after the game that I remember this awful hot dog that I thought was going to haunt me for life.
Believe it or not, I was in New York City. I grew up in Chicago, Porch Park neighborhood, but in 2014, I moved to LA to do some work. So I was out there for like 3 years. My first son was born there, moved home. But in 2016, I was still living out there. I had to fly to New York for this meeting. So I watched Game 6 and Game 7 in New York. And what sticks out to me was during the rain delay, I stepped outside the bar, and it was in Brooklyn and Greenpoint, so you could see the Manhattan skyline. It's right along the river there. And I noticed, I'm like, oh, there's the Empire State Building. Cool. I never really looked at it. And then went back in, Cubs win. As I'm leaving that bar, because I'm going to a Cubs bar in Manhattan to meet up a bunch of people, the Empire State Building had changed to blue. It was lit up in white, and then they had changed to blue. And
they did that for the Cubs?
I'm like, they must have done that for the Cubs. And someone said, oh, yeah, they did. I guess there's there's some Chicago history to that building. Maybe the architect was from Chicago originally. I could be completely wrong with this, but I remember specifically being like, oh, that's crazy. And then on top of that, we went to this bar in Manhattan. I met up with some people by myself. So here's what I'll remember. It definitely had like an end of the world vibe.
Yes. Especially because of the rain.
Yes.
Right? It was just like, what?
And so, being in Manhattan and New York, I would have rather been here, of course, in Chicago, but going to a Cubs bar, and it was an Irish bar on top of that. And I throw that out there because the bouncer was from Ireland. And when I walked up, I walked up, I could hear them singing "We Are the Champions" by Queen up 2 blocks away. It was crazy. I go in, and big, surly-looking Irish guy, and he's like, "Are you just getting here, lad?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, because I'm decked out in Cubs stuff. He knows. He's like, "Get the hell in there!" And just like, didn't even look at my ID, smacked me in the ass. And as I'm making my way to my friends who were way in the back, every dude high fives me, and women were greeting people with kisses on the cheek and like lips and stuff. I felt like dudes were hugging me.
Pre-COVID,
strange
of course.
men.
Clearly pre-COVID.
But strange. I even told my wife, and she was like, they won the World Series. I'm not even mad. I'm like, I wasn't making out with them. It was just like, it was like literally every guy hug. I'm like, I don't know you, but thanks for the hug. Woman, kiss on the lips. I'm like, all right, hey, how are you? And then it felt like the end of the world. Like we all found out that's it. And just get in the fun while you can. It's crazy.
That's a better story than mine. That's something that you can tell your kids about one day.
I'm sure they'd love to hear about their dad just being a trash bag of a human being.
That's a good point. Cody, what was it for you? What was it for you? What do you?
I lived downstate at the time. I lived in Peoria, and I lived with a Cubs fan and a Cardinals fan. And thankfully, the Cardinals fan I lived with, he was rooting for me. He wasn't rooting for the Cubs. He was just rooting for me because he knew how much of a diehard I am. And I remember when Rajay Davis hit the home run, my roommate, who was the Cubs fan, he straight up got up. He's like, "I'm going to bed. I can't watch the rest." He eventually came back down, but like I just sat in the same spot on the couch in just pure shock. And then when the rain delay came, it honestly just felt like misery because it was just like prolonging it with the way that we thought back then. You know what I mean? And they won obviously, and I just was on the floor of my living room and just. I'd never been happier in my life. I had to FaceTime like all my family and everything. Like I fell asleep. The big thing that I can always tell people is like I fell asleep with the W flag as like my blanket that night.
It's adorable.
I brought it down and like sweet, I was Cody. Just like
I didn't expect that soft side of you,
man. Like it was a night. I mean, every Cubs fan will say this, but it was a night that I'll never forget.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like it even when hopefully the Cubs win another one before I die, but like I don't think anything that happens after it will top that. Like that was just the night that will be forever in like our souls, you know.
Yeah.
So, but like the story at least, like of where you're at, and then you managed to find a Cubs bar in New York, like.
Yeah, that part was crazy.
I was just downstate in like rinky-dink Peoria, just like hanging out in my apartment. Like I don't know, it's just the way the process of all of that is wild. How you're able to go through all that.
Yeah, there's a bar called Kelly's. If you guys are in Manhattan looking for a Cubs bar, it's a cool spot, Lower Manhattan. Yeah, I remember also when they won, I went nuts, and I always envisioned when I was a little kid, like maybe not too little, but I remember thinking, what will I do when they get that last out? I'm like, I'll probably just break down and cry. I didn't. I jumped up and down and went insane. And I remember grabbing a friend by the face and being like, the Cubs haven't won since 2016 because everyone has always been like 1908. So I remember in my head being like, I can't wait until we could say, oh, our drought is at 0. That always seemed so cool to me to finally be able to say that.
That was a crazy year.
All right, we got to get to some of our sponsors real quick, and then we'll continue to talk Cubs baseball, a little more Cubs baseball, less Will Smith when we go forward here.
Well, when Joe got here, we were walking up the stairs, and he was like, I've been checking out the bet show, man. You've been killing it. And, I appreciate that. And, on the bet show, we always talk about PointsBet, which is the best way to support CHGO. You go download the PointsBet app. Thank you, Joey. And use code CHGO when you sign up. If you do that right now, you get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. But that's not it. If you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content. You'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. That's $2,000 in free bets, a free CHGO membership, and a free T-shirt from the CHGO locker. All for making a $50 first-time deposit at PointsBet. If you have any questions, you can email pointsbet@allchgo.com and we'll help you out. Your home for live in-play betting just got even better. Introducing PointsBet's new feature, live college basketball same-game parlay, For the first time ever, you can build the perfect live same-game parlay only with PointsBet. Combine your favorite bets anytime during the game. Want more? You can also boost your live same-game parlays. Watch live, parlay live, and boost live with PointsBet. And now, online sign-up is available in Illinois. You can download the PointsBet app right now and register your account from start to finish, all from your phone. I say it all the time. If Luke can figure it out, all of you can. Plus, during PointsBet Match Madness, all users can earn up to $100 in free bets. During each round, just place a $50 pregame wager and get a free $20 live bet to be used for that round. So what are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Cody, our next partner, is a product I use literally every day. Started taking AG1 from Athletic Greens because I didn't have time, wanted better gut health, more energy, optimized immune system. Been taking it now for, 3.5 weeks? I love it. I forgot to take it today, and I came in, and what have I been saying? Oh, it's dreary outside.
Dreary.
I'm moping around. All of a sudden, it rings in my head. You didn't take your AG1.
Yeah, you were like Uncle Stucky for a while, and then you went back to reverted back to
right.
Grandpa.
Now
Stucky
I'm Grandpa
today.
Stucky. I'm just shuffling around the room. I don't like the super healthy tasting ones. This one's nice. It's got a tropical taste. I look forward to it in the morning. So what is the stuff? Here it is. 1 scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. It's a special blend of ingredients supporting your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all of those things. I get a noticeable boost of energy, so I take it first thing in the morning, empty stomach, and then giddy up and go. It's a lifestyle-friendly decision you're making, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, all good with AG1. You're investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance for less than just $3 a day. It's recommended by professional athletes. More than 7,000 5-star reviews. So right now it's time to reclaim your health. Arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/CHGO Cubs. Again, athleticgreens.com/CHGO Cubs to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. All right, speaking of power and gut health and energy and focus, did we all see the Brennan Davis home run last night?
Yep.
I was actually asleep, and I missed it, but I saw it this morning.
Me too. That's when I saw it this morning. I was like,
I was telling Cody, I was kind of working on something, so I had one headphone in, and I was trying to keep one ear on the screen, and I hear Brennan Davis's name. I look up, one pitch. I forgot what the first pitch was, and then all of a sudden he cranks one. I'm like, all right, this is a big deal. But it was at 11 o'clock at night, because it was a late game, and he cranks this one, and I know Elise Benniker started calling it a bomb ski or something like that. Started saying bomb ski. I'm like, that's the name. That's the name
right,
for Brennan.
That's what I was just going to ask. What's our name going to be when he comes up? What are Cubs fans? Is it going to be the Brennan Bombski, a Brennan Bomb? Is it going to be a Davis Dinger?
I've heard the Davis Dong, which is kind of funny.
I'm pretty sure I tweeted that.
You did. You tweeted between the two. You had a poll going. It was a sexy home run. It was the swing that really impressed me because it wasn't like a meatball pitch. It was kind of an outer third pitch and a little bit low, and just the way he drove it the opposite way. That's the swing you expect out of someone who's 5 years into their professional career.
Yeah.
There's so many young guys. The thing you worry about is them being pull happy, especially Cubs hitters over the last 6 or 7 seasons. They're often pull happy. He just went with it. It was a real pretty stroke.
Just to the right of center field, and it looks like a moonshot too.
Yeah,
it's not barely getting out. The distance traveled was incredible when you look at how high he hit it as well. I mean, the guy's the future.
Very strong.
You can see why they're excited about what he can be once he gets. Although Ryan will always be our buzzkill and say, "Well, it's not going to happen until."
It's not going to happen for a while. Definitely not opening day, Joe. So if you had that idea in your mind, not going to be opening day. Maybe not second half.
I think everyone has that out of their mind now.
He will be up. He will be up.
I was hoping June. I was hoping he'd make them, but maybe it's August, which would be a bummer.
I'm going with post All-Star break, but if it's June, then you prove me wrong. You got me.
How about a Brennan Booyah for Stu Scott?
I like that.
I do like that. Yeah.
It's not bad.
That'll work.
In peace.
You wrote something about Outfield, and like obviously he's part of that conversation. You wrote it in our member section, but he's part of the conversation. He's just not part of it now. So what is the conversation now? Like, we're just waiting for him to come? To me, I'll say it over and over. I think Frazier's the most exciting possibility if you're not talking about Suzuki, who you expect to be good. Like, if it's just the reclamation projects, Frazier's the guy I want to see. Like,
Yeah.
I want to see him play every day.
Yeah. Well, and then we've talked about it already, but the Ian Happ elbow thing, like, I think on Sunday was his first time out in left field. He had DH the first 2 times, so like Clint Frazier could very well be like left field insurance, have him on the team, gives Happ a few days to just DH. Because I think it's the throwing that's kind of bugging him right now more than the hitting. So if Ian Happ can DH, Clint Frazier could be in left field, and that gives him a chance to get to see what they got with him. Because again, he's a former number 5 overall pick, right behind Bryant. Like there's a pedigree there that he could definitely
out of high school.
Oh yeah, right, if he can like reach his ceiling or even get close to it, like that's a $1.5 million deal is kind of a steal.
He seems very happy too to be in Chicago. The Yankees have a lot of rules that don't really fly with his personality. And the concussions.
Can't even have a beard. He was very outspoken about the whole beard thing. I thought. You know what I mean? Like sometimes, Jake Arrieta is like the best example. Like when he came to the Cubs, he always talked about how the Cubs just let him beat him, and like
with no sleeves.
Yeah,
ever.
He became
showing off the guns.
He became the top pitcher that he was projected to be when he was with the Orioles. So I know that's one guy, and I know there's other guys that haven't worked out, but I don't know. I feel like in a way that's kind of like to me, especially when you get a change of scenery and you're allowed to be whatever you want to be, like that can release a lot of pressure on a guy. I mean, he was a number 5 overall pick, had a lot of expectations, and they gave him. I didn't watch the Yankees that much, but I mean, I'm sure he didn't get the consistent opportunities, as he would have liked.
Yeah, some young players need to come into an atmosphere where they could just play instead of, obviously Elmore is the example some fans like to use because he came right into a team that was on the heels of winning a World Series, and it's like you got to produce. So, but he wasn't, because it was his rookie season in 2017, essentially his rookie season. So John Jay got the at bats. Frazier had a similar thing. I'm not saying Elmore would have ended up being anything, but who knows? Where Frazier's a guy who now is in a situation where it's like, let him play, go play. Mm-hmm. If we're not competing for a playoff spot this year, let's roll the dice on some of these guys and let's see what could happen. And again, I think he's the most exciting guy, like you mentioned, $1.5 million contract. You'll never be upset that you signed a guy for that little. He ends up batting 0, so what? Again, it's a dice roll.
Yeah, it's a 1 year, $1.5 million contract. So if he ends up batting 0, then it's kind of no.
And you have 2 years of control, though, right? After this, though?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Like he's arbitration eligible next year, I think, something like that. But, well, first, Dingers asks, who has better red hair, Clint Frazier or Joe?
Well, I love Dingers. Thank you for that.
Shout out to Mitch Nims.
Good man right there. I'm going to go with Frazier because it's curlier than mine.
Okay.
Red and curly, that's just a little bit better of a combination, So
that's fair enough.
Now Matt Merton or Frazier? Ooh. Matt Merton. Red hair.
Yeah, Matt Merton.
Red. Really
it's going to be hard to overtake Matt Merton's.
You want to hear a quick story about Matt Merton?
Absolutely.
I sat in the bleachers in Wrigley Field when he was playing in left field.
Is that your spot, by the way, bleachers?
No offense, bleacher people. It's highly overrated.
Over there.
You got to get there too early. And then when they started doing it where you had to get a wristband to prove you're 21, I'm like, I got to wait in another line.
True.
And then I just had bad
annoying.
circumstances with some people. I love a lot of bleacher bums, but if I could choose, give me now it's the 300 level. It used to be the 400 level. Mm-hmm. Front couple rows right there, third base side, you could see everything. It's perfect. Yeah. Otherwise, I used to have season tickets in the 200 corner because then you could drink at Bernie's, enter right off of Sheffield by the fire station and get right out before everyone. And you got that bathroom right there. It's a money spot. But left field bleachers, Merton was having that real good. This might have been 2005. A friend of mine told all these girls around us that I was Matt Merton's brother. They believed it.
Oh, wow.
And coincidentally, what really sold it was, left field bleachers, so the outfielders were playing catch. My friend goes, just throw it to your brother. Stop acting like you don't see him. And he threw it to me. I caught the ball.
Come on.
And so then everyone believed it. And so a few people ended up buying us beers because we were going to tell them where the players were going to hang out afterwards.
Oh.
And we left in the 8th just so we didn't have to tell them anything. It was all lies, but it was a fun evening of lying at people. Lying to people, I should say. That was,
That's crazy.
That
they
red
threw
hair.
the ball.
Any redhead, I know that's what really sold it because they didn't really believe it for a while.
Maybe he just had like a sense, like do redheads like kind of have that like sixth sense of like my
Spidey sense.
This guy needs my help.
Yeah, I mean maybe that's just our thing. He's like he needs sunscreen and a ball. I'm gonna help him out.
There you go.
And he chucked it my way. Luckily though, 2005, not everyone had smartphones because anyone would have just looked up. Wait, he's from Georgia.
Yeah.
And you sound like you're from down the street, So that might have hurt me a little bit.
All right, but and the second thing I wanted to tell, or just bring up, you kind of mentioned how Clint Frazier, this is the year to have that to give guys opportunities, and that's another reason why I'm like, Brennan Davis is gonna have his opportunity, but he's 22. Like he's gonna have plenty of time to do that. When you got Clint Frazier who's 27, you got Hermosillo who's 27. I've kind of come to the realization that Rafael Ortega is not going to be on the team this year. But he's 30. But there's like all these different players that are going to have their chances.
How many at-bats do you think Davis needs at AAA? He got, 68 last year, I think? I would like to say 69, but it wasn't. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, I don't know the at-bat number per se, but I don't think they're going to rush him. I think they're going to give him as much time as they can at Iowa. And if he's crushing it, that's going to help him come up sooner. But at the same time, if he's crushing it, but Clinton Frazier's killing it, and Michael Hermosillo's doing incredible. Like there's a chance that they just hey, these guys are developing. These guys could be great. Brennan Davis is going to be up here next year, regardless. Let's let these guys finish it out. I mean, there's
that DH.
You're right.
Just kind of like
you're right. I just don't want it to be right. It's a buzzkill.
Yeah,
but you're
this
right.
is another thing that's I'm like, there's only so many opportunities that can go out on the roster. Like you're already that's why again Ortega is probably an odd man out because they're not gonna get rid of Hayward. I think they've made that pretty clear. Happ is like a staple in that lineup. Suzuki's gonna be right fielder. There's only so many more opportunities to go around. Where if Hermosillo and those guys aren't doing too well, then you bring up Brennan Davis and he's killing it. And there's definitely a shot that he can get up by June, like you said. But I guess I'm more of the pessimistic buzzkill side. But
I think they like Hayward to maybe mentor Davis, perhaps.
Yeah.
That's something I was thinking about with regards to his value.
I wish it wasn't $25 million of mentoring, what
Yeah.
I mean?
Well, you wish it wasn't on the field mentoring.
Yeah.
That
Wish
too.
it was.
He could just
dug
be
out
a bench
mentoring.
coach already.
Yeah.
Still pay him the $25 million. Just be a bench coach.
Get off the roster.
I mean, I guess he's only 33 still. So
yeah. I mean, kind of to like what Ryan said, it's like maybe Hayward transitions back to what we saw in 2020 and 2019. Those were probably his two best seasons as a hitter for the Cubs. And he was hurt a lot last year. Maybe that played into his production as a hitter. But the thing is like the average, or not even the average. I feel like even the diehard fan, the expectations for Hayward with the bat at least is not high. So that's why a lot of people are like he's the odd man out.
And you never know. Injuries happen, especially with how short this spring training is. Injuries happen. Injuries kind of forced some of those guys up last time that ended up being great. So Brennan Davis, if there's an opening, someone, God forbid, someone gets hurt, they're like, oh, Brennan Davis, it's your time, and there you go. So then there's the whole bunch of different variables that you cannot plan out ahead of time. It's just my idea.
I think it's kind of like what Dom said yesterday. It's like you just hope that those guys get the opportunities. Like don't let Jason Hayward be the reason that Michael Hermosillo isn't getting consistent at bats every day or every other day at least. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're looking. I think you're right. From an organizational standpoint, everything you said makes complete sense. As a fan, and I consider myself a pretty good baseball guy, my fear is that they wait till August, and that's not enough time for us fans to get excited about 2023. I want to see enough of Davis where I could pencil him to 2023 being like, I don't have to worry about him.
Because August, he's facing garbage pitchers. Every time he plays the Pirates, he's still facing AAA pitchers.
Exactly. I don't even know I haven't looked that far into the calendar, but if we have Cincinnati and Pittsburgh and Colorado for that month, it's
might as well be in the minor leagues.
Exactly. So I want to see him enough facing competitive pitchers. That's why I'm hoping for June, but I do think you're correct. Because then if he comes up and kills it and doesn't miss a beat the way he has been, the way he's progressed, then you're excited. You're like, all right, cool. Davis is a potential all-star for 2023. We just want to see signs that this is not going to be a long, dragged-out rebuild, which is why a Correa signing would have been great because, I think Suzuki's going to be awesome, but I want him to be like the second best offensive player we signed, not the best offensive player. Just one of those things.
That's right. I mean, that's fair. And then I think that's bringing in Suzuki, bringing in Stroman is Stroman 3-year deal is kind of weird because I'm like, do you want to compete in the next 3 years? That's what you kind of want to see out of that.
That's what we thought, right?
Yeah, but I mean, this season could be, again, that development season. Some of these guys aren't developing. Let's give Brennan Davis his chance.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see.
And
how
you
it
could
goes.
sign the free agents next offseason if you really want to. But, all right, so we've been, over the last few shows or podcasts, we've been going around the division trying to compare what the Cubs have to the rest of the division. We decided that starting pitching, they were third in the division, okay? Then we went to catcher, and we said, okay, they're first. And then we went to first base. And what did we say, third? Third again. Now we're at second base, and we're starting at the bottom, and we believe the Pirates are in the worst situation with, is it Vanessa Hudgens?
Vanessa Hudgens' boyfriend.
Yeah, her boyfriend.
Yes.
I only know that because you told me, and then I looked it up, and that she was tweeting that he hit a home run off of Garrett Cole.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you anything she's in.
She's in High School Musical.
High School Musical.
She's in a couple other movies too, but she's definitely most known for High School Musical, in my opinion.
Yeah. She was definitely one of our generation's, like, the crush growing up. So
Still is.
still is for sure.
And she's dating a pirate.
Don't take that seriously, Cassidy.
So
I like that you think your girlfrend watches your show. No, I'm just messing with you.
Damn, man.
you get home and she has
supports you,
no
dude?
idea you said that.
we're going to put Nick Madrigal next in line just because you don't know what you're getting. I will say this.
That's a fair assessment after all the trolling we did about the Cardinals and Yachty the other day.
It is, but I also think just because he's, fourth in the division doesn't mean he couldn't move up real quickly, because I think the mix of players at second base are kind of like there's some names that have done a few things, but there's nobody on there where Ryan Sandberg's not playing in the division anymore.
Yeah.
Rhino's not at second base. Brandon Phillips isn't over there. Like there's plenty of room to move up the division. What do you think of Tommy Edman and the Cardinals next? Is that?
Yeah, I think just the fact that Madrigal missed all, 2020 season was short by itself regardless, but then he missed half of last season. I think, like you said, you just don't know exactly where you're getting from him. Tommy Edman just has had more experience, and he's a decent defender. I think he's like a 1 or 2 in the Cardinals order. Like he's a good player. Maybe Nick Madrigal could pass him up with.
He's a lot like Nico Horner, in my opinion. They played together in college at Stanford.
Yeah.
Contact. He can hit for power, but he's definitely out there to get on base. And his defense, I'm not exactly like it's not sticking out to me, but definitely is more proven than Madrigal. That's for sure, and that's a good assessment.
I will say he's also someone that Tommy Edman can also play like 4 or 5 different positions on the field, which I don't know if Madrigal gives you that. So like that versatility. The
he's
Cubs
better defensively.
Yeah, Ross wants versatile defenders, and Hoyer's bringing all those guys in. I think you would like to have more versatility in a defender.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough because Nico is such a pretty elite second baseman glove-wise, and push him over to shortstop where he's average. So Madrigal at second was really the only spot he could play. Yeah. You don't want him at DH because he doesn't have the power for it. I think Nick's bat-to-ball skills are elite. He's an elite contact guy who I think he could fall out of bed and hit 300 for you, but he's not going to get on base a ton. He's not a big walk guy. That's why I'm kind of like, everyone's penciling him in the leadoff, and I'm a little bit like, I kind of like the high contact bats where there's going to be runners on base for them. I think some of the Cubs' bigger problems was a couple guys get on base and strikeout all in a row, and we leave a guy at third with 1 out or a guy at third with nobody out, and nobody could put the bat on the ball. So I think, Madrigal's a good spot. Edman I definitely would have above him, but you're right. I think Nick could pass him but we just don't know yet. There's just not enough data on him.
He's the number 4 overall pick, like 3 or 4 years ago. Like he has, again, we talk about the pedigree that Clint Frazier has. Madrigal has that too. Like he could be a very good player.
This is a big draft.
Nico could end back up there too. You don't know. Nico might end up playing second base somehow, and Madrigal gets hurt, or there's a lot of things that could happen.
You could try him in left field.
Yeah,
We'll see.
It'd be interesting to see if they try to actually play Madrigal somewhere else around the field, because I don't think the Sox did that.
Yeah.
But kind of like what you were saying, like Ross likes versatile players. He's young. It's not like he's used to playing one spot for his entire life. I don't know. I mean, they're already loaded in the outfield. There's no way he can play third. I mean, not going to play short. So I don't know.
Went from catcher to left field and improved tremendously as a defender out there over the years. You never know.
It would just be nice if he could play a little corner outfield. That way you can mix and match a little bit based on matchups and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we'll see.
So
But
I
like where it's at.
We decided in our list we're debating Reds or Brewers first place for the division at second, and we gave it to Colton Wong. But whether it's the Reds or Brewers, they probably deserve to be top two positions, right?
Yeah.
Well, Jonathan India, what do we say? We won the Rookie of the Year last year. He's a very good. I mean, he's a good bat. I don't know the defensive numbers off the top of my head, but clearly he was good enough to win the Rookie of the Year last year. So I think at number 2, Jonathan India. But then Colton Wong's just so much more of a proven veteran. Yeah. He's a great, Gold Glove caliber defender. He hits at the top of the order relatively well. I mean,
it's clearly he's the best defensive second baseman out of them for sure.
Yeah.
And it makes me sick because he played for the Cardinals too. But like they both, like him and Tommy Edman are very similar types of hitters. Like, contact, can hit for power, but also just gets on base. I mean, those two guys have annoyed me so much in their times of their careers. Like they just remind me so much of the same. But like you said, Wong's definitely more proven. I thought maybe things would change when he went to Milwaukee. No, he still does all the annoying things there.
He sprays the ball around too. That's really why I think a lot of Cubs fans wanted Wong. Well, he's a great defender.
Oh, yeah, I remember
him
that
and Javi. Remember that people were like, we got to get him because they couldn't believe the Cardinals cut him over $10, $11 million.
Yeah,
and
nuts.
It would have been a great double play combination. Left-handed bat. Offensively, he's a little overrated though. If you really look at his offensive numbers, he's below league average most of his career. He's only had a couple OPS pluses of over 100, a couple Fangraphs over 100. So, but he's a different style of bat, which is why you like to plug him into it. They would have been great for that Cubs lineup in front of Bryant, Rizzo, and I was going to say Schwarber, but he wasn't on the team last year, Contreras, because a guy again could go foul line to foul line.
Yeah, like you say, he's a guy that can spray the ball and he just makes contact. Like regardless of the batting average or on base, whatever, he just makes contact. And I guess in what I think of as leadoff or table setters, whatever, it's like someone's going to put the ball in play, and because things happen when you put the ball in play, whether it's an error, sneaks through the infield for a single, like you take that over striking out, of course, but
yes, definitely
over a guy that can't just put the ball contact on the ball. So and then that's why I go back to I think Nick Madrigal is the best leadoff option on the Cubs right now, just because he's going to put the bat on the ball, and then you see what happens from there.
The only thing I agree with you there, Suzuki's first year in the majors, so I think he's going to do great. But there will be a slight adjustment.
It's true.
I kind of liked him there, but we don't have enough power, so you want him in the middle as well. My only thing with Madrigal is that's everything you described as a leadoff hitter, I'm on board with, but I want a guy who could go first to third. I hate station to station. True. I just don't know how
he's not a good base
runner.
No.
Doesn't seem very good,
That's
right?
a problem. Dom
true.
mentioned he doesn't walk a lot yesterday at leadoff. And the other I know the Sox guys here would say, ooh, he's one of the worst base runners ever. Like that's definitely a knock on him. So, anyways, the Colton Wong Love Fest continues here on the CHGO Cubs podcast. How about some points bet love to go with it?
Let's do it. This is points bet round 2. If you enjoy CHGO, one way to help us continue to grow is to download the PointsBet app and use code CHGO when you sign up. Not only are you going to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000, but if you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you'll receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all our web content, and you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker, #DopeMerch. If you have any questions, email pointsbet@allchgo.com, and we'll help you out. And in case you missed it, online sign-up is available in Illinois. You can actually download the PointsBet app right now, register your account from start to finish, all from your phone. You'll be signing up with the fastest sportsbook easier than ever, so you can start living your bet life in seconds. So what are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet, live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
CHGO, what are we doing? Well, if you don't know, we're doing podcasts and live shows every day, every team. Post-game shows will be coming up after every Cubs game, Monday through Friday. You'll have premium written content in the members section at allchgo.com from Ryan, all of our great writers, as we mentioned many, many times. Dope merch, which now 24 boxes of it are getting ready to be shipped out. So it's just a matter of folding them, getting them presented nicely, and then off to your mailbox, I suppose. Free shirt when you become a member in the members-only Discord, the CHGO Lounge.
There you go. Look, he's got it up there.
Oh, see, that is nice.
Look at all that stuff.
I like that one. I do like the CHGO like old Bulls written script there.
I like the.
I like that gray.
Flag.
I like the
that's a
gray
good one.
flag.
Yeah,
is the one I'm going for.
Gray flag.
I like
Yeah.
the one with
Yeah.
like the.
Yeah, that's the one I'm.
They all look good.
That's the one
They
I've
all look
ordered
good.
right out of the gate.
I think
Joey
that
hasn't
is
shown it yet, but there's one with the flag like on the chest, like in the small print, right there. Yeah,
That is good.
this is not good for the podcast, but if you're on YouTube, this is.
it-
Oh, you should see it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Evan Altman was on Twitter today and posted a tweet about opening day tickets, and he was like, "Yeah, I remember the days when you used to sit in the waiting room, the virtual waiting rooms, to get tickets for Cubs games, and now there's still tons of tickets sitting for opening day." That's kind of hard to believe because, like, if they're still sitting there for opening day, what are they for the day after, which is the game you used to like to go to?
Yeah, my dad would we'd go to the day after because they were half the price, and you'd still get the magnet schedule giveaway, which was very big in the house. It should send a message to the ownership a little bit. I mean, I'm trying to be optimistic about the season because we're at the point now where there's nothing you could do about it. Yeah. I've been a little bit more negative than I am accustomed to lately because I just want the most refreshing thing about when Theo first came in was the transparency. He straight up told everyone, hey, we're going to be bad for some years. Mm-hmm. We've got to build this thing from the ground up. I mean, we heard stories that Cubs scouts didn't even have email addresses. That's how in the wrong century they were. And now we're hearing it's not a rebuild, it's a retool. But then they're also saying, by 2025, you're going to be impressed. I'm like, that sounds like a rebuild. What are you saying now? Just be clear.
But if they told you rebuild right now,
I'd be pretty mad.
They'd be
because there's no reason to. And we know they don't save that money. That was the thing. I always thought with a major organization like the Cubs, all right, we didn't spend anything from 2012 to 2014 except Edwin Jackson's bad contract. And that was one of those things where it's like, we can't have the Tampa Bay Rays, budget while charging our ticket prices. So let's throw something at them, Yeah. And like, I didn't think Theo and Jed thought, Edwin Jackson's going to be the piece, but they were like, okay, we can have a $20 million payroll, right? And I always thought, all right, you don't spend on those years, but then the years you're in a window, you go way over because you can. And now it's clear that they don't do that. They don't operate that way because they do respect the luxury tax. They don't want to go over. I understand you don't want to go over too many times, but it definitely felt like they stopped short those years. Whereas the Dodgers had that whole Bauer thing. That was a blunder of a signing. Clearly, he was a bad person, and he even pitched extremely well while he was in there. Did they respond with going, we could have really competed this year, but Bauer? No, they went out and got Max Scherzer and Trey Turner. And then this year they get Freeman. Like, it's a fantasy us Cubs fans have. But if we're going to be paying these ticket prices, show us some respect. I mean, we've been loyal, and we're here, and we're going to be excited and all that. But don't disrespect us. So I'm kind of happy that they haven't sold out opening day yet because I'm hoping that scares them. Like, Michael Conforto's still out there. Yeah. You know what I mean? I want them to be scared into doing a move where I want them scared into making a bad signing. How about that? Is that crazy? Maybe, but why not? Make a bad signing. I don't care. I'll never get upset.
You're the first ever fan. Please make a bad signing.
Show me that you love me. You know what I mean? Show me that you care. If this is relationship, it's like we're like the girlfriend was like, at least attempt to cook us dinner. Like, that's how we're at right now.
Yeah.
Even if it's just boiling water and a hot dog.
Something. Just a little bit of effort goes a long way.
Me and Joe have had a lot of conversations on like Twitter or wherever, and kind of about this kind of stuff. And I always respect your opinion. We've talked about. I didn't go. My first game at Wrigley Field wasn't until I was 20 years old because I grew up downstate, and the first Cubs game I ever saw was at Busch Stadium. Unfortunately,
they don't really have electricity down there, do they?
I don't think so.
Kidding.
I don't.
Kidding.
It's
definitely don't get marquee down
runoff
there.
generator.
Yeah, definitely don't get marquee down there. Yeah, but
from Walmart.
No, you're a diehard, Cody.
Yeah, but the thing with a lot of it is I understand your frustration, and everyone should be frustrated. And I think I've remained like that. I guess it's just I feel like a lot of people are just still stuck on what happened at the deadline last year, and some people just are refusing to move on. I feel like more people, like more fans, are more like they are like they would rather the players that got traded to come out and say that they hate the Ricketts or something like that more than like the Cubs to succeed moving forward. And so like when I get that vibe from people, whether it's in my own Twitter mentions or even like on the CHGO Cubs Twitter mentions, it's just like, to me, it's like, I don't want to say it's heartbreaking, but it's frustrating because it's like, grow up a Cubs fan, and your expectations were nowhere near where they are now. Like, we should expect to be in the playoffs every year with the kind of market that we're in, and we should expect more after 2016. But at the same time, like, to me at least, it's always going to, like, one of the real reasons why I became a Cubs fan is because they were always underdog, and you always believed every year and all this stuff, and you're just not really getting that from Cubs fans this year. And again, like, everyone's entitled to their opinion, and I'm not gatekeeping fandom and stuff like that. It's just, to me, it's just very frustrating. It's like, especially like right before they signed Stroman, like, everyone was so down, and like no one thought they were going to do anything, and it's just like, there's still so many guys out here. Even if they didn't sign Stroman, they still could do something. And like, you know, they got Stroman, and then they signed Suzuki, and like, yeah, there's still not enough. We were still hoping they'd get Correa, or even maybe, you know, another arm or something like that was top tier. But I don't know. Like, to me, it's just what being a Cubs fan has always been about, to me at least, is just like always having some hope, some belief, and like that's what's different compared to like other teams in the league. You know what I mean? So.
I mean, opening day is different, and I understand, you know, it's cool to go on opening day. I would just look at the forecast and say, I can see why a lot of people wouldn't be buying it.
That's also a good point.
You know, I can see why they're not going to buy expensive tickets on opening day for a team that we're not sure about yet. Like,
well, also
the weather is 99% of the time like it is today. It's like 33.
It's so cold.
Let's be honest. The first month and a half,
you might get lucky and get an unseasonably nice
one
day.
or
You're
two
right.
one or two games those first 2 months.
Yeah,
I think I mentioned it earlier too. Like, it's probably going to be Kyle Hendricks to start opening day, so maybe more people will come on the second day because Marcus Stroman will probably start then too.
Good point.
And so, like, you know, I think that kind of factors in.
And the magnet schedule, of course.
Yeah, the magnet.
I hope they still do that. I mean, they've been cutting costs left and right. But, you know, it's
Can't afford it.
Yeah, it'd be too much. Hey, you
biblical,
get one magnet.
Biblical, you got to get rid of the magnet schedule.
Magnets will really put us in the red. So, you know, I understand what you're saying, Cody, with the negativity thing. I was with you with the Stroman thing. Everyone's like, they haven't signed anyone. I'm like, hold on. It'd be one thing if there was no one available. People are still out there. Calm down. I agree with you. I was lockstep there. And as far as negativity with fans go, I would get mad when, like, say Hendricks gives up a 2-run homer in the first, and people are like, this game's over. I'm like, have you ever watched a baseball game? This game is far. Like that. Those type of fans would really irk me and ruin my enjoyment of things.
Right.
But I understand the frustration. You're like, yeah, we were this underdog team and everything like that. I think the big difference is, though, we're no longer on WGN. They've changed a lot about what I still think they've done a great job for the most part with the renovations of still keeping the Wrigley Field essence that we all enjoy.
I agree with that.
Right? And it's funny every now and then people are like, oh, it's turned into Schaumburg. I'm like, has Wrigleyville ever been? It's always been kind of a little bit.
Have you been to Schaumburg?
Yeah,
it's not like Schaumburg.
It's not like Schaumburg. But yeah, as far as the anger, we now have someone we could point to, where before it was the Tribune and Zell and everything else, where there wasn't the one person. And I think people are a little more informed about things nowadays, and they don't want to feel like a mark. It's insulting when people are like, Cubs fans will show up anyway. I feel insulted by that sometimes, because it makes it seem like, oh, we'll just roll out anyone. These dummies will show up. You know, no one wants to be treated like that.
That's true.
And the Ricketts did do a great job for a while rebuilding stuff and everything, and hopefully things turn around. But again, if I could go back to the transparency, I wish they would come out and say, hey, look, we messed up this renovation budget. We went way over, like they said they did, and that is why we're not getting Bryce Harper. Like, you know, that stuff like that. That's what we want to hear about.
Right.
And then I would be mad, but at least I'm not being lied to. Going like, well, we decided not to get him because, like, you know, be honest with us. You know, this team needs help. They need a little help. They need a little offensive boost. And you guys signed Daniel Descalso. Like, and there's no way Theo and Jed wanted that.
And traded Tommy Listello and went on to be great with the Angels and the Giants and the A's and every other team he's been with since.
Yeah. It's a dumb move. And I think it's because Listello couldn't play shortstop at all. But Descalso barely could either.
Yeah.
Because remember at the end of 2018, Javi was worn down because he had carried that team on his back because he had such a breakout 18.
You didn't want to see Descalso in the lineup.
No,
you Cubs fan. It just didn't work.
And they didn't know the Addison Russell situation, so they're kind of like, we need someone who could also play shortstop, which Listello couldn't do. Right. I'm not sticking up for the move, but that's what their thinking was. I'll stick up for a move if I can understand the thinking behind it. Like, obviously, Chatwood was a bad signing, but I understood why they made that signing. You know, there's certain deals where you're like, all right, it didn't work out, but I got why you did that.
I mean, the Craig Kimbrell one also, like, mid-season is like, it didn't work out for the first, season and a half-ish. The last year did definitely work out.
Because he finally got up spring training.
Yeah, but the first season and a half, it was like, but they needed to sign a closer. They needed someone that could be the closer, and he's a Hall of Fame closer. But yeah. I mean, I get your point.
So. All right. Well, this has been fun, Joe. First of all, what can we promote for you? What tell us where to go to see your stand-up work.
Well, I perform all over the city. I'm part of a group of producers called Comedians You Should Know, and we produce shows Wednesday nights at Timothy O'Toole's downtown, which is like Fairbanks in Ontario, every Wednesday, 9 p.m., comediansyoushouldknow.com. Also, if you like to watch my stand-up, I've got almost 3 hours of stand-up comedy content that is available on Spotify as well as YouTube. So you can watch on youtube.com/Joe Kilgallon. It's Kilgallon.
One L, not Kill.
Yeah, just one L up front, Kil, and then the word gallon, like milk or whatever.
Beautiful.
And again, if you're thinking about going on stage to go after Joe, you're going to get a large can of red whoop ass.
That's right.
That's,
there you go.
Don't mess with the red mamba.
He was over here flexing for everyone who didn't see. So,
thanks for coming by. I hope you come on again.
Oh, I'd love to, and thanks for having me. You guys are great. I love everything that's happening with CHGO, Cubs, and beyond. You guys are doing amazing things.
Appreciate
man,
that.
I appreciate it.
And thank you for listening and watching the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by PointsBet. We're back again tomorrow. Until then, take care and fly the W.